So many people ask me, Gary, how can I stop three putting? And I say to them, what's the problem with the putting? Oh, I can't get down in two putts. The first thing I say to them is, be sensible. Are you the right distance away? Because if you take that each club hits about 12 yards one to the next, and you were lucky enough to always choose the right club from the fairway and hit the correct shot, you'd be within, say, 10 or 12 yards. If you up that by 50%, maybe even 100%, and start practicing from there, so you think, okay, 12 yards, 50%, if my maths works, is about 18 yards away, that would be a sensible distance. Now, if you're much outside that distance, it's not really the fault of your putting because you're just too far away. So again, it gives you the area that you need to work on. But let's assume like this, I've managed to finish here about 18 or 19 yards from the pin. And this is an area that would be very, very easy to three putt, and I come across a lot of people who do. And the main fault that I find, if they've got a reasonable setup and a reasonable technique, is that they very often end up with a great big backswing and not enough follow through, so the ball runs halfway up. Or then, because they're sick of hitting short, they give a great sort of flick with the wrists to make the ball go faster, and instead of going that 3 or 4 feet longer, it then goes 8 feet longer and runs 4 or 5 feet beyond the pin. And as I say, the problem is big backswing and either no follow through or a follow through with a flick of the wrists. So if I just turn around this way where you can see, just to show you, we've got a great big backswing and no follow through, so the ball's right, or a great big backswing and then a flick of the wrist where my hands stop going through. The first one obviously doesn't get the ball rolling properly and often bounces. The second one also tends to bounce because I misstrike it, sort of chip the ball up into the air, and again I've lost all control of the speed of it. What we're after is a slightly smaller backswing and a really good long follow through, keeping the wrist firm. And wintertime golf, particularly when the greens might be a little bit longer, or if you play, as most clubs are, it's very difficult for the ground staff to keep the greens at 11, 12, 13 on a stimp meter. So most of the time they might be running at 7 or 8 on a stimp meter. And that means if you are 18 yards away, that green's quite slow. So what I want is not too big a backswing, but a much longer follow through, even if it means you have to turn your shoulders and your hips, almost sort of following through like a chip shot. Better that than stopping the arms and flicking your wrists. So let me just show you. Here we are lined up. Luckily it's a fairly straight putt, slightly up the hill. I've taken my normal setup position, not going to change that, but what I'm looking for is a reasonably short backswing rather than a backswing that comes somewhere up here, but then a very good follow through where I can extend right on out and really get the ball rolling. Short back, long through, and we should get the ball rolling nicely up. Okay, you say, well, is that going to be the same for all the different putts? Yes, it is. You have to practice from different areas, and I would go and scatter a couple of balls around the green. And I would also encourage you to try and find 10 minutes every week to practice this on the green. If you're able to take your dog for a walk on the course, just have a little wander, a couple of balls in your pocket, quietly put them down on the green and roll them up from a couple of distances. And the key is short back, long through, really get that follow through going to get a good roll. Now I'm into position, short back and a good long follow through. Bit of a break I didn't read, but I've got it up to about 3 feet away, and okay, I'd like to be closer, but being sensible from this sort of range, if I can putt the ball up into about a putter's length, your putter's around 3 feet long, that's not a bad putt in all honesty. Don't be too hard on yourself, and then we can go to school in a minute and see if we can tap that little one in. Save my par.